Ever wondered why we, sophisticated humans, find ourselves completely smitten by creatures who'd rather play with a box than the expensive toy we just bought them? Yes, I'm talking about cats. These feisty felines have a way of weaving themselves into our hearts and homes, with their aloof demeanor and independent spirit. But what is it about cats that makes us so fascinated by them? Well, it's not just their penchant for cardboard boxes or their obsession with that elusive red dot. Cats embody an air of mystery and intrigue that we humans can't resist. They're curious, quirky, and utterly captivating. And this isn't some modern-day trend. Oh no. This feline fascination dates back centuries. From the time of the pharaohs to the Victorian era, cats have held a special place in human society. They've been worshipped as gods, kept as companions, and immortalized in art and literature. From ancient Egypt to your Aunt Edna's living room, cats have been enchanting us for ages. But how did this love story begin? Let's turn back the clock to ancient times, when cats first made their grand entrance on the human stage. Our story begins in the land of the pharaohs, ancient Egypt, where cats were not just pets, but revered deities. They were worshipped as symbols of grace and poise, associated with the goddess Bastet, who was herself often depicted as a lioness or a domestic cat. Imagine that. Your furry friend who loves to knock over your glass of water was once considered a divine being. Egyptians held cats in such high esteem that causing harm to one, even accidentally, was considered a grave offense, punishable by death. Yes, you heard it right, death. Talk about being a protector of feline rights. Cats were so deeply embedded in Egyptian society and religion that they even earned a place in their art and mythology. Cats were often mummified and buried with their owners, so they could accompany them to the afterlife. The discovery of the tomb of the Egyptian prince Thutmose's cat, adorned with a gold-plated necklace and tiny amulets, bears testament to this. But the Egyptians weren't the only ones fascinated by cats. Over in Rome, cats were appreciated for their utility. They were primarily used for pest control, guarding granaries against rats and mice. The Romans saw cats as symbols of liberty, perhaps noting their independent and free-spirited nature. Meanwhile, in the chilly realms of Norse mythology, the goddess Freyja, who was in charge of love, beauty, and fertility, had a chariot that was pulled by two large cats. Now that's what I call riding in style. So, cats have been turning heads and ruling hearts since antiquity, but when did they switch from being worshipped to becoming our roommates? Unlike dogs, who we actively sought to domesticate, cats kind of just moved in, and we were totally fine with it. Picture this. Thousands of years ago, in the cradle of civilization, humans were just starting to sow the seeds of agricultural society. But with grain stores came a pesky problem: rodents. As if on cue, the wildcats appeared, lured by the buffet of rats and mice. They were the perfect solution, a natural pest control. Instead of chasing them away, our ancestors saw the benefit and let them stick around, thus setting the stage for a beautiful friendship. These wildcats were not the cuddly furballs we know today. They were solitary, self-reliant creatures, adept hunters who prowled the night. But their natural hunting abilities were precisely what made them so useful to early human settlements. And as the cats spent more time around humans, a fascinating transformation began to take place. Over generations, these wildcats started to change, both in their behavior and their physical traits. They became more sociable, more tolerant of humans, and even their appearance began to morph into something softer, less wild. This process wasn't a conscious one, but rather a result of natural selection. The cats that were less afraid of humans had better access to food and were more likely to survive and reproduce. Over time, these changes added up, and the domestic cat as we know it began to emerge. But it wasn't just their hunting prowess that endeared cats to us. There was something else, something harder to define. Maybe it was their grace, their mystery, or their independence. Perhaps it was the way they would curl up beside us, purring softly, making us feel just a little bit less alone in the world. Cats, in their typical fashion, made themselves at home in our lives. But what is it about these creatures that we find so captivating? And why, after all these years, do we continue to let them rule our homes and indeed our hearts? Well, that's a tale for another time. Cats, with their aloof demeanor and independent spirit, are the epitome of playing hard to get. And it seems we can't resist the challenge. There's something utterly captivating about these feline creatures. Their graceful movements, the hypnotic gaze of their eyes, and their curious, capricious behavior. They're the sphinxes of the domestic world, shrouded in mystery and unpredictability. But it's not just their enigmatic charm that enthralls us. Cats have a unique ability to comfort us, to soothe our stresses and quiet our minds. When a cat curls up in your lap, purring contentedly, it's as if the world outside ceases to exist. From a scientific perspective, this is no coincidence. The frequency of a cat's purr, typically between 25 and 150 Hz, is within the range known to stimulate healing and promote feelings of calm and well-being. So in essence, having a cat can be good for your health. Moreover, cats are consummate survivors, capable of fending for themselves, yet choosing to share their lives with us. They're a fascinating blend of domesticity and wildness, reminding us perhaps of our own primal instincts and desires for freedom. So we're hooked on cats because they're comforting, intriguing, and just a little bit wild. But they do have their oddities. To wrap things up, let's not forget the lighter side of our feline friends. You see, cats have their share of quirks that keep us entertained. Take their inexplicable love for boxes, for instance. The smaller, the better. It's like they're professional contortionists. And don't get me started on those midnight zoomies. It's as if they suddenly remember they're descendants of wild beasts. And remember, if you want a friend in this world, get a dog. Because a cat will only be your friend until the can opener breaks.